Today's episode is sponsored by one of my favorite rap labels, Front Row Regale. Started by my good friend Rock City Mark, legendary rapper Ito, and Jay Rios, they are the go-to for real hip-hop. Make sure to check out the whole team, including DJ Doo-Wop, Jay Black, Nice to Future, Boo Boo the Prince, Reno RX, and Uwop Diggs. Follow Front Row Regale on all platforms and check out the new New York by Ito and DJ Doo-Wop out now.
Yeah.
I was just, as I like to say, I was a generic headliner.
Are people now coming to see you?
Oh yeah, that's pretty much all the shows I do now is just
Fans. Do they want you to do the characters though? Like, do they expect
I'll
you to?
I'll go into it and talk about it. That's one thing I've noticed is that at first I would just do my stand up. I didn't really even talk about it at all, but I've got so many people who've never been to a comedy show. They're coming to my show, and so I feel like I have to kind of talk about the social media stuff, and so I'll tell the stories about some of the videos. And
so you don't just go into it. You explain the backing behind it.
No, I just start doing stand up, and then about halfway through, I start telling the story about, this is why I'm famous. In case you don't know, here's why I'm here. So.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't even sure if you were going to do this. I wasn't sure if you played yourself or if you played the character. Because I've seen you do stand up and you didn't do it on the shorter sets.
Longer set, I'll do it. I'll kind of go in and out of it.
Yeah,
just for the fun of it.
Hey, puppy. But, do you tell the real story about your grandfather about it?
Yeah. I'll talk about him and tell some stories about him. And
you mind? We'll start off with that story. Do you mind telling it?
No problem. We're gonna. When are we rolling?
We're good whenever.
Okay. Are we recording?
Yeah, we can keep the dog. What's your dog's name?
This is Allie. Is she okay?
Allie? Yeah, she can stay. I do not mind.
Okay, because she loves attention.
She wants to be on camera.
Yes.
She sees you getting all the notoriety.
Yeah.
And she's like, get me on the camera. I want some of that fame.
She's a pampered princess.
You got to get her own plaque right next to it.
Yeah, she's a doll. She's a kind of a rescue. It's kind of funny.
How did you kind of rescue her?
Well, we have a friend, friends that we've known for years, and their kids were like 2 and 3. They were the same age as our kids when they were younger, little.
Hey, you're caught up in this.
And we became such close friends that they've lived with us from time to time, and the kids are basically just raised as cousins, kind of thing. And anyway, their oldest boy joined the Marine Corps. Yeah, she's got like an ear infection.
Oh, so I won't play. Hey, let me get. Oh, your cord's stuck in your.
Allie, come on. I love you dearly, but can you go find somewhere else to be for a second? Come on. Really? Come on. Okay, there you go. Okay, sit down. There we go. Okay.
You can tell she loves you. You're her protector.
Yeah, she's my protector.
Is that how it works?
That's how it works. She's convinced. She's here to save me from harm.
It's like a rescue dog, an anxiety dog, like a self dog that also has anxiety.
Well, it was funny because the oldest boy, his wife, had the dog, and shortly after they got married, she also joined the Marine Corps, and then they both got stationed, in Okinawa.
Oh wow!
And they couldn't take the dog with them, so they asked us to take her, and so I'm like, okay, and so I ended up bringing her back from California, driving her all the way back out here to Connecticut in the car, and on that trip, she just bonded, and now she's just,
Was it not a good bond in the beginning?
Oh no, she was fine. I had known her because I'd see the kid all the time.
I didn't know if it was like a planes, trains, and automobies type situation where you hated each other at the beginning. Well, she's trying to bite you, and then by the end, you guys are.
It was just like I'd go and visit. I'd visit with her before because I'd gone to his house, helped him move in and all that stuff. So I knew her. And it was weird for her because she's just like, why am I going? What are we doing? Why am I going with you? But by the time we got to Connecticut, she would just never want us to leave my side. In fact, it's really funny when I have to leave and then I come back. She does this thing where she's excited to see me, but at the same time she's mad.
So she'll be a little sassy with you.
Why did you leave? And she'll start growling and running around in circles, and then just start. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. And I can't believe. She didn't know what to do. It's quite adorable.
My dog's on Cape, and I'm on the road all the time, so I won't see her for like months. And you can't explain to your pet like what's the situation and where you're going. So like I'll leave and she's probably like, he's dead. Like Sam's dead. Like I haven't seen him for 2 months. What's happening? And then I'll show up one day and she's like, is it really you? Is it really you? And then I have to go for the.
Well, she's funny because she knows when I leave with a suitcase. And she'll get right by the door and want to go with me because every once in a while when I drive out, I'll take her with me, just for the for the fun of it. And so she loves riding in the car. She just absolutely wants to go all the time.
Does she like the water?
Oh yeah. She loves the water. Well, it was funny the first time she saw snow was out here a few years ago. In fact, I got a videotape of it that I posted years ago, but her first time in snow, she was just going nuts. That was the most amazing thing ever. I mean, she just running back and forth. She had no idea what to do with this. She thought it was just the most incredible thing she had ever experienced.
You're from Utah, so you know snow, and I know snow. Yes. I went to an international high school, so some people, like I got to see like not adults, but like teenagers see snow for the first time in person.
Oh, really?
And it was kind of like, imagine seeing snow for the first time when you can really acknowledge what it is.
Yes.
You're like, what is this magical thing? You see like it in movies, you see it,
Yeah. It was weird because, I grew up with it. And I had one time it was, I think it was, I was about 20. Yeah, I was about 20 years old, and I was with a guy who had never seen snow before in his life. He was, same age, and he just stood it. He just stood out in the snow and just like, this is so amazing. It's I compare it to the first time I saw fireflies, because I grew up in Utah. You kind of have them, but not really. I mean, it was very rare you would ever see one.
Yeah.
And then I was in North Carolina where they're everywhere. And I remember the first time I walked out there and saw them, I was just like, it was in New Jersey the first time I saw them. I was just like, is this real?
Just like all the lights. Yeah.
Just seeing these fireflies. I'm like, this is, because like you were saying, you see snow in the movies and it's, you're still, until you've actually experienced it, you don't understand it. Fireflies kind of the same thing for me. I was just like,
I want to see the Aurora Borealis. I don't think I've ever seen that. And I feel like that's something I've only seen pictures of on like Mac computer backgrounds.
Oh, yes.
It's always the picture of it. And I want to see that in real life.
Yeah, it looks like it's just spray brush, airbrushed.
Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
Do you have a top bucket list item?
Top bucket list item. I just want to travel. I want to go see everything.
Yeah.
Nothing particular. Well, I'd like to go to Antarctica if I could one day. That's probably my, way out there thing, but mostly
what would you want to do out there?
I just go check it out.
Just to see the ice,
just to see it, just to be there, just to say, hey, I was on Antarctica.
Yeah, because there isn't anything out there other than like.
Well, that's what they tell us. That's the story they tell. That's the little thing they're trying to.
You think Area 51's in Antarctica?
Yeah, there you go.
There's aliens out there. Penguins are just aliens.
I hope so. I'm one of those guys. I've never seen Bigfoot. I've never seen ghosts, but I want it to be true.
Do you believe in that stuff? The only question I had prepared for you is if you believed in Bigfoot, which is, I don't know. It's crazy that you brought that up. We did not talk about that beforehand.
Oh, really?
Literally, the only question.
Like I said, I want to believe. I want it to be true.
Yeah.
I want there to be aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts,
I feel like
time
Bigfoot's
travel. I want
the
it all.
least believable, though, of like ghost aliens.
I think he's the most believable because we have more evidence that Bigfoot exists than we do ghosts.
All right, what's your fuck, marry, kill? Bigfoot, a ghost, and an alien.
I don't know. Let's see. Let's go with Bigfoot, a female one. What was the other option?
It's fuck, marry, kill, a female ghost, a female Bigfoot, and a female alien.
I would do the Bigfoot. I'd marry the alien because I think to some degree I actually am, and because she's out of this world.
Oh, that's a good pickup line. Any aliens watching?
There we go.
Go to which casino are you at this weekend?
Fandango Casino in Carson City.
Go there.
Bring your ladies.
They have UFO parking out front.
I'm gonna turn your ladies on for you. Come on out. And then of course kill the ghosts because they're already dead.
Kill again. If you kill a ghost, does it bring them back to life?
Probably.
There's just like a 16th century vaudevillian. I was gonna say child, but not in this scenario. Adult standing in your room.
There you go.
How about Loch Ness Monster? Let's throw her in the mix. She's thick. Loch Ness Monster's a thick lady.
That was it was always funny. You know the famous picture of the Loch Ness.
Yeah.
Every time I look at it, I was like, it looks like it's just somebody doing, got their hand up there. I was like, has anybody seen this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was so much easier to believe in shit before the internet, though. Like you had to believe in Bigfoot. You didn't know.
It was harder to fake stuff. You had to be really creative to fake stuff.
Yeah.
Now, with everything. Now there's just so much. I mean, think about this. The military has come out and admitted that there is a large, believed to be intelligent life craft in our galaxy, and it's hanging out watching us. And it got absolutely no acknowledgement hardly at all. From
Yeah, but the new Legend of Zelda's out.
That's true.
That's true. But like, what would you do? Like, how would that change your day to day if you like saw an alien, like one got interviewed?
I don't think it would change my outlook at all because I pretty much figure they are real.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want them to be real.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any proof myself, but I want to believe.
My
brother. Well, I have a brother who is convinced that he was abducted by aliens.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think he was?
I listened to his story, and you know what? It sounds legit to me. And he's not a liar. He's not one that just makes up stuff.
Yeah. I have a bunch of friends who have always been like, I saw UFOs. Like, I saw a UFO. I saw a UFO. And then always I'm like, tell me more about it. And they're like, well, I was tripping on mushrooms. I'm like, God damn it. God damn it.
There's the
rub. But for real, though, like, I don't know. Ghosts, I thought I lived in a haunted house when I grew up. But was I just a scared kid?
Could be, yeah. We lived in an old house there for a while when I was a kid, and it was built in like the late 1800s.
Yeah,
it had a root cellar, basement, and my brothers and sisters were scared to go down in the basement or at night, and I was just like, I'd go down there with the lights off. I'm like, what's a ghost gonna do to me?
Yeah, there's never been one death caused by ghost.
Yeah,
ever. It's like marijuana. It's like there's never more people have been killed by marijuana than ghosts.
Yeah. More people have been killed by people trying to stop you from using marijuana than actually using marijuana.
That is true, though. We like to psych ourselves up as humans, like scare ourselves.
We do. We like I said, we want that excitement, because we're geared. I mean, think about it. If you're into the evolution thing, the idea that we came from the animal world, which means that we developed our intelligence so that we could defeat the enemy and not get eaten by these other animals.
Yeah.
And learn how to basically take over the world. We had to do a lot of crazy stuff. And so we were evolved to do amazing things. And now here we are, where half of our work can be done by a chat GPT now. What are we doing? I tell people, you're not depressed, you're bored. Most people are just bored.
Yeah.
With their lives.
Yeah, yes, I agree. When I was most depressed is when I wasn't taking myself seriously.
Mm-hmm. When you have no real purpose.
Exactly, yeah. Without having
anything and I'm not trying to discount people with depression. I get that, so don't at me. But no, it's a lot of it is just being active, and we want that excitement. So I think that's why we kind of build ourselves up sometimes. That's why we like hearing scary stories when we go on a camp out, or sit and watch a scary movie. We like that excitement. We like that.
Have you ever felt depression?
Oh yeah, sure. I've been through anxiety, and in fact, I was somewhat OCD when I was a kid. I used to clean like all the time. I was just I was just always cleaning and organizing things.
Why?
My friends' kids, my friends' neighbors, or my friends' parents loved it when I would come over to their house because I would start cleaning.
I used to go over friends' houses and be like, coasters are our friends. Like, I was very, proper. Like, I was, manners.
Yeah.
I have no manners now.
Well, it was funny because I had this friend, his name was Vance, and went over to his house, and he was from a big family like I was.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this really big, nice house, and it was just always just chaos. I mean, it wasn't like hoarders dirty, but it was just always looked like a bunch of kids lived there.
Yeah.
Right? And so I would go over and we want to play games or do stuff, and I was like, I had to clean the house before we could do anything.
You had to put on the little the butler outfit.
Yeah, I was just start cleaning, and I would just organize and clean the house, and it was funny because his mom was like, "You can tell Rodney he can come over anytime he wants to."
There are certain type of kids that the parents want to come over. He's a good enough kid. Yeah, well, he cleans, he uses coasters, he's good.
Yeah, I had one gal at one mom that her only complaint was she didn't like the way I put the glasses away, because I always put the glasses in upside down with but they preferred to have the cups up so that you could just reach up and I thought that was weird.
I can't imagine someone having a problem with you going over and doing the dishes, and they're like, "You're fucking up."
Yeah, it's like, well, could you just put the dishes, straight up?
What changed? How did that change in your mind? How did you?
I think I realized that it was I was becoming obsessive, like too much, and so the way I stopped myself was I just thought, because I shared a room with my three brothers, 2 older and 1 younger, and they thought it was great because I was just constantly cleaning the room, but it got to the point where I had obsessed about where I could not go to sleep at night unless everything was in its proper place. And I remember I was just organizing one night, and I could not sleep, and I finally was just like, look, I can't keep doing this. I can't be like this. And so I just thought, okay, for 1 week, I'm not going to clean anything. And I would just do anything else other than clean. So I'd read, I'd go out, play, whatever. And it took a couple of weeks, but finally I kind of broke myself. I mean, I didn't become a slob. That wasn't the point. Well, you wouldn't know that by now. But the idea of just having things not organized I was like, okay, just let that go. Because like I said, it's good to be organized, but when it becomes obsessive, I would get to the point where I couldn't sleep if I knew that there was dirty dishes out in the kitchen, or if there was something wasn't properly placed in the front room. I mean, I was nuts.
But that mentality is probably also the obsessive mentality used later in life that made you successful.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was just it was learning how to channel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people think it's a disorder. It's like, no, you aren't broken. When you have, what you think is mental disorders, it's not really that you're broken. It's just sort of like you're too hyper focused in one thing, and it's overshadowing everything else. At least that's how I saw it in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have family members who've been all kinds of I'm Valium and all the drugs.
Do you have advice for someone that might be dealing with that, like how you broke it and how you channel your energy?
Well, first of all, it's just accepting and saying, "Hey, Kate, I'm not broken. I'm just overly focused on in one aspect."
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing that your subconscious brain is not an enemy to you. It's just doing whatever you tell it. Mm-hmm. Well, if you keep telling it that things need to be in order, well, then it goes, "Oh, okay. We got to put everything in order all the time." And so it's going to do that. But when you tell it, no, it's, tell it to prioritize. It's like, this is more important than that. And then, getting the order is what's important, and learning how to talk to your subconscious and how to control your subconscious. That really is the key to all of this.
Mm-hmm. I work on meditation heavily to try to do that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's fantastic.
I think we think very similarly, and that's why I'd love to hear the origin story of how your first video that got a lot of views was in June of 2020.
Yes.
The same month that I started this podcast, June of 2020. Mm. And I think it's because there's what were you saying?
Synchronicity.
We could say that, but I think there's a bigger point in it, hearing you talk. And there was a big population, or maybe a small population, that had drive, that wanted to do something important, but the world was too loud around them.
Uh-huh.
And then when the pandemic hit, it kind of quieted down, and a certain amount of people were able to use that and harness that quietness for something positive.
Absolutely. Well, and that was, at that point in time, it'd been going on for a couple months, and everybody was just getting more negative and negative all the time. Especially, a lot of my comedian friends. Everybody was doing complaint videos and angry at this and angry at that, and fighting over masks, and all that stuff was going on. Then George Floyd came along, and in fact, my video really was me trying to explain the George Floyd riots without offending anyone. That was the whole kind of silliness behind it. Because I had a friend who had posted, say, "Hey, anybody got an opinion about what's going on right now?" Because, at that point, everybody had an opinion.
Yeah.
So he was making fun of that. And so other people had posted stuff. And I started writing something, and I thought, I need to do a video. And so I just, I was actually getting ready to go to the airport, fly back to Utah for a gig back there. And we were, the club back there at Wise Guys was doing Zoom shows, if you remember that craziness. Yeah. But we would actually do them on stage. We would set up cameras.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And it was just a bunch of comics get together, and we would do a live Zoom show.
I did one Zoom show, and I live with my mom, so I had to go out of my car, and I was doing it sitting in the driver's seat of I think I got in the back seat of my car, and I'm sitting in the back seat of my car telling jokes to the phone, and I'm like, I can't do this again.
Oh yeah, it was insane.
So you you went back out to Utah.
So I'm getting ready
man.
to fly, and I'm waiting for my wife to come out to the car. And so I see that on Facebook, and so I thought I'm gonna make a video. So I just went out here on the side of the house to the trees, and I kind of went into my character and made the video.
Had you ever done that character before?
Oh yeah. I'd really been started to really work on him once the pandemic started going. You know, because I'm like, oh my God, everything got canceled. So I'm like, I'm sitting at home like everybody else. What am I going to do with myself? And I didn't want to, you know, getting involved with the whole nastiness and getting complaining. I was just like, I just want to do something silly and have fun. And so I'd started doing some videos about it and having some little fun with it. And I was getting some traction with it. But this one video in particular, it was just, I do it. And it was one of those moments where as soon as I was done, I thought, this is the stupidest thing ever. And I was like so close to just deleting it, right? I mean, I was really just thinking about, I shouldn't share this. And I thought, go ahead. And so I put it as a comment to his question. And it got like 6 likes as we're, driving to the airport. And I'm going, and I'm thinking, I think this is funnier than, I kind of had that moment. I was like, I think there's something to this. I think this is funny. So I went ahead and posted it as a regular post. And by the time we got to Boston, to the airport, it was up to like a couple hundred views, which was, pretty good at that point in time. I mean, if I could get 30 views on anything, I was tickled, So it was like a couple hundred views. I was like, all right, here we go, man. I might hit 1,000 views. Yeah. Well, by the time we got on the plane, we had a layover in Dallas. To get to Dallas, it was like 10,000 views. And I'm just like, wow, this is cool.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but to fly to Utah, you had a layover in Dallas. I'm sorry.
My wife, she just is always looking for the best deals on flights. And if she could save $10, that means that we have to fly for 4.5 extra hours. That's a win to her. So I've just learned to just whatever she books, I just go with it. I'm like, whatever, darling. I'm just happy that she handles it. I'll just do it. So we had the layover in Dallas. It was like 10,000 views. Like, this is good. Well, by the time we got from Dallas to Salt Lake, it was at 100,000. This is like in 24 hours. And then it hit 1 million within a week. Wow. And then just kept going and going. And then a bunch of people, as soon as you have anything that kind of goes viral, all these people will come in, steal your video and repost it as theirs. I had a bunch of people doing that and just re-memeing it and everything. And from that, we've figured out that the total reach of that video was over 300 million worldwide.
Wow.
With all the different variations of it. So
it's like almost everyone in America watched it.
At some point in time, whether they really wanted to or not. So it just went gangbusters.
Why do you think that was?
I think because everybody was so tense and just worked up, because like I said, the George Floyd riots were going on. So we had all that going on. Then we had COVID and, plus we were, going into the election. It was an election year. So everybody was just super tight, tense.
Yeah.
With everything. And here comes along this knucklehead dude. And, looks like some stoner standing out in the middle of the woods.
I kicked over yourself.
Oh, we're good. And it just struck a nerve because it was so silly and just so ridiculous. And it just struck a nerve with people. And I've had people tell me, they said, that was the first time during the pandemic that they felt like everything was going to be all right. It's like, we're going to be all right. This is all silly. We're going to get through this. And that's really that was kind of my point is that, because at the point we're talking about, this is the apocalypse, the end of the world's coming, Jesus is coming back, we're all going to, Agenda 21, and we're all going to become part of the New World Order, and Satan's going to rule, and the reptilians are coming, all that's going on. And I'm just like, calm down, people.
Hey guys, this episode is sponsored by Infuse Productions. Anyone who likes good weed, good music, and good people needs to check out Infused Productions. And make sure to come to one of their upcoming shows, always featuring your favorite cannabis vendors and growers. Also, don't forget to come join the Grumpy Cup in Greenfield, Mass, July 8th and 9th. For a comedy show, cannabis competition, barbecue competition, and exotic car show. Make sure to hit up Infuse Productions on IG, Facebook, or go to infuseproductions.com. That's INFUZED productions.com. Or if you want to check out the Grumpy Cup, go to thegrumpycup.com. Let's get back into it.
This is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
This is not Revelations. This is just chill out.
But about people wanting to scare themselves, I think people think we're way more important than we are as like where we are in time.
Oh,
like we're the ones who kill the world. We're so important. We're the ones. Like it's gonna be thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years from now. We're not that important.
Earth has been around for 13 million years, and we're gonna take it out in 2 generations. Woohoo!
It doesn't. But do you get what I was saying about that point where it's like all this stuff and you just wanted to do what you wanted to do?
Yeah,
you wanted to just be who you were.
Yeah, I just wanted to just do me and do the characters and just be silly. And I've had other comedians who have seen me, do it on stage and they're always telling me, "Oh, you're smarter than this." I'm going, I don't care. I don't care if people think I'm smart. I don't care. I just want to entertain people and have fun. And if I could do it with a fun, positive message, even the better. It's like I've been, ignored by a lot of people because they thought I was just some goofball nut, which is fine. I don't care. I've never been one of the cool kids. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to try to fit in.
Do you still feel that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've always felt like an outsider in everything that I've done, everywhere I go. And because I'm an anomaly in comedy because, I have a wife who supports me and a family. I'm not neurotic. I'm not using comedy as therapy.
Yeah.
I just literally just want to tell jokes and make people feel good and be happy, and I'm not your typical, comic to hang out with. So I guess a lot of people don't think I'm a good hang because I don't know. I'm just too weird, I guess.
I asked if you feel that because some people would think having so many followers makes you feel something, but no, it doesn't. You're just on your own path.
Well, I mean, it's been really cool to meet people, and I have conversations with people all the time, and I have people that seem, I get recognized in the public all the time, and people want to talk and get pictures, and I love it. I love meeting everybody. But at the same time, when it comes to everything else, I do enjoy just being alone.
Yeah.
And it's not that I hate people. I just enjoy being by myself.
Do you feel fulfilled now?
I would say that I've felt fulfilled before. I mean, this is sort of feels like a bonus. I mean, I've had a really great life. I've had an amazing woman. Oh, my kids are all just incredible. I've always been able to pay my bills. I've been relatively healthy. I mean, I've had my setbacks, but I've never really focused on the difficulties that I've had in life. And I've been through a lot of weird stuff and a lot of difficult things, but I don't let that control my life. You know what I mean? It's like I tell people, you can't change the past, but you can change the way you view the past. You can change the way you feel about the past. You can change the way you think about it. So you can put those things behind you and move on. And so I've always had that with me. I love Stoicism, the philosophy of Stoicism, because when I first really started studying it and reading about it, I realized this is the way I already see the world. This is the way I was when I was a kid.
Would you explain that? Stoicism?
Well, Stoicism really, the basic tenet is of the whole thing is that there are things that you can control and there's things that you can't. And if you can't control them, there's no reason to be upset or bothered about them. They're just going to be what they're going to be. What you do have control over is your own thoughts and feelings about these things. And if you focus on that, you focus on what you do have control over, you're much happier. And if you're not so been out of shape over what's going on in the world, it's like I remember during I was talking to a gal online, a fellow comic, and we were debating back and forth about politics. Not in a mean way, but she sees the world differently than I do. But I still value her because she's very smart, very funny, interesting person. And when her side lost, it was like devastation. She was like, oh. And then when my side lost, she's like, are you okay, Rodney? I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Who's in the White House has no bearing on my life. Mm-hmm.
It's like the alien coming down. Your life isn't going to change.
I'm not going to change anything.
Yeah.
And so I love sports. I love, NASCAR. I love football. I love basketball. And, I'm a Jazz fan since I was a kid. I was in Utah when the Jazz moved to Utah. I mean, I was just since they came to Utah, I've been a Jazz.
I thought you meant the music until you said Utah.
I like jazz. I
was like, we could have a jazz talk. I love jazz.
No. And, but when they finally got to the finals and lost, I was just like, well, okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't feel devastated when things don't.
But do you feel like that's who you are, or do you think that's something that you were able to develop over time? Well, I think
it's really developed because you get disappointed when you're younger. Things don't go your way, or when I didn't get first place at the Pinewood Derby. You feel like your whole world is going to fall apart. You know what I mean? Especially when you're a kid, because everything is so magnified when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But being able to just learn that, win, lose, no one notices, no one cares. I mean, I remember one time looking at an almanac when I was a kid and reading about who won the World Series in like 1922. And I don't even remember who it was. And I thought, no one cares. And I thought, who wins the World Series this year? No one cares. And I'm like, I remember later, when I was a kid, I wanted to know everybody who won everything, the championships of everything. And after a while, I realized that I remember one time it was like December, and I thought, who won the World Series this year? And I'm thinking, I don't even remember who played in the World Series this year. And it was just funny because it was one of those weird moments as a kid where I was going, I don't think I really care. It's not all that important who wins whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of this weird moment where it was like, it doesn't matter.
No. No, it's kind of like when you're you see comedians or anybody, like musicians, become like a prima donna if something at the show doesn't go well. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's just another day for the audience that is living a life to enjoy their night for someone they like. It isn't like you're not the star of the show.
Even if you are the star.
If you are the star of the show,
not.
It's really just another night to the audience that they're either going to leave and be like, oh, I enjoyed that night, or oh, that night fucking sucked and I just wasted $150 on a babysitter, tickets, dinner, drinks,
Yeah, that's one thing I always tell comics. I said, the audience is having a different experience than you are. So us as comics, we thinking, oh, I'm dying. This audience is horrible. Meanwhile, they're sitting there going, having the greatest time of their life because they're not paying attention to the audience. They're just listening to you.
I can't listen to my podcast. I hate my podcast. I can't listen to myself talk. I can't, when I cut clips, I have to fast forward to see where someone's smiling, and I was like, okay, I'll cut that as a clip. I hate it, but other people enjoy it, and I don't understand that.
Oh, I understand exactly what you're saying because I can't watch myself do stand-up at all. I can't watch my videos
But other people love them.
Yes, they do. And I'm like, look, I don't get it. I mean, it's funny because, you know, you get trolls every once in a while, and the more videos you get that do well, you get the more trolls, right? It's just part of the thing.
Yeah.
And I find myself just like, people say, I can't stand this guy. How can anyone sit and listen to this? And I would go in there and say, I totally agree with you. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on here. I just turn the camera on, I talk, and then I post it and people watch it. I don't get it either.
I'm the same way, you know? Yeah.
And no, it's a fun thing, but no,
you think it's the vulnerability?
Probably. Well, you know, I tell people when you start doing stand up, you know, the thing people will tell you is you got to learn to relate to your audience. I think that's the dumbest advice ever.
Until I have an audience over 50 and they don't know any of my references.
Well, it's like I tell people, you're not here to relate to them because you're never going to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do is get all of them to relate to you.
Yes.
That's your job as a comedian. You bring them into your world. You show them around how you see the world and what you're experiencing, you know. And when you learn how to do that, it doesn't matter what the audience is. You know that you can get them. Because, again, you're not trying to go out and get the audience. You're getting the audience to come to you.
How long have you been doing stand-up?
Be 26 years in November.
Wow. Any breaks?
No, I mean, there was a while for a few years where I just kind of thought of it as more of a hobby because I'd only get on stage like 2 or 3 times a month.
Okay.
And that I did this 6-week run one time back in like 2004 where I was just gone for weeks at a time, months. And I remember sitting there in a hotel room in Billings, Montana, you know, and talking to the kids on the phone and stuff. And I just thought, what am I doing to myself? This is silly. I've got a wife and kids. I'm like, I'm not going to get discovered performing in a bar in Billings, Montana, right? And I thought when I was on stage, I was happy and I loved performing and I was enjoying it. But, you know, then I go back to, you know, some seedy motel, you know, with shag rug carpeting and, you know, plumbing fixtures from the 60s. And I'm going, what am I doing?
Because the nicer hotel you get, the less you're getting paid. That's how it works.
Yeah. And I just thought I don't want to be a road comic. I was just like, I like my family too much. And I thought, you know, if I'm going to hit success, and when it comes, great. If not, I love doing stand up, but I'm not going to give up everything else in my life for it. So I just, I finished that run and then I just basically just did local stuff. I would do little runs from here and there, but I wasn't. Just being full-time road comic, I just like, I can't do this right now. And so I decided that I really wouldn't pursue comedy until my kids were all grown up. So when my youngest kid turned 18, I really started getting out there and started really pushing towards it. And that was the thing when 2020 came along. That was looking to be one of my best comedy years I've had in years because I had, because I could travel now. I could go and do the stuff. And I wasn't missing out on being a part of my kids' lives because they got their own lives. They were moving on, so I could move on. And I had all this stuff worked out, all this stuff planned, and I was really excited. I was getting back on the road. I was getting in with clubs. And then 2020, you know, the whole pandemic thing started and it was all gone. And so I'm sitting there thinking, oh, now what do I do? And that's when I started focusing on the videos.
I'm not sure if it was before the podcast or if we had talked about it when the cameras were rolling, but you were saying that people come out to you now that are there to see you.
Oh, yeah.
They're there to see you. But you stayed down for that happened 23 years.
Yes, it took a long time. Like I said, it was just, you know, the videos, you know, people. when they know who you are and there's a familiarity,
yeah, but you could have had a video pop and then be like, ooh, I want to do stand-up. But you had 23 years of stand-up under your belt.
See, and that's one of the things that I've been having with some of the clubs. You know, we tell them, hey, I've got this big social media presence. And their first reaction is like, oh, no, another one of these people. Because there's a lot of people who become really big because of social media. But then when you go to their live show, you know, they're like, hey, so what do you guys want to talk about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, dude, this is grueling.
I always know it's going to be a tough show when there's a Q&A at the end of
Yes. When they have to do a Q&A, it's like, oh, what are we doing? We're burning clock. That's what we're doing. This is, hey, I have writer's block. But no, you know, when I go, so when it's kind of funny because a lot of people who come and see me, they've never been to stand-up comedy before. So they'll come and I'll be their first show. So they really don't know what to expect. And they're blown away because they're expecting me to just get up there and go, hey, so everybody, so I made this video, you know.
But you're real, you know the art of it.
Yeah, I just get there and start doing stand-up and they're just, you know, I've had a lot of people come and go, I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's fun. It's fun watching them just kind of be blown away.
Do people ever get mad that you don't just do the character?
Not the ones who come out. They've usually have seen that, you know, because I didn't want to become Larry the Cable Guy.
Andrew Dice Clay type thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to be that character. I wanted to show that, look, I'm capable of being this character, but I'm also capable of a lot of other stuff.
That's probably why you're more successful.
Yeah, because I didn't want to be tied to that character as that's all I do.
Yeah.
And I've had people who've, you know, they find out that it's a character and they get mad at me and go, oh, I feel deceived, or you're terrible, you know. And I'm like, I'm thanks.
That just means you're a good actor.
That's exactly how I take it. I'm like, I appreciate the compliment. You know, I'm such a great actor. You were convinced it was real. Whereas there's other people who do characters, but you could tell it's a character. I mean, you're not sitting there going, is this for real? You watch it and go, oh, it's a character.
Yeah.
But people don't do that with me. They're like, well, you know, they're kind of taken back when they find out that I'm.
You were talking about, you were talking about the origin of it, of your character. And then you were saying that you don't do comedy for like therapy reasons. Is the character therapeutic for you, or do you just?
Well, I guess I do to some degree therapy. Yeah. Well, the character
you were talking about how it was based off your grandfather.
Yeah, my grandfather was. He had a lot of faults, and he was an alcoholic. To the point, I mean, he would first thing in the morning get up, start drinking. You know. He was just always, but he was usually just kind of buzzed, but he was always drinking. But he was funny. He was really funny, and he was always teasing us, me and my cousins, my brothers and sisters, and I always felt a really strong connection to him because of just, you know, through humor, because he was just so funny to me. And he would tell me stories. You know, I'd sit in the kitchen table and just listen to him talk for hours about being a railroad engineer and about being a kid and just, you know, growing up through the Depression and all that kind of stuff. And I just thought he was the funniest dude. But I knew, you know, he would get too drunk and then we would have to leave. And there were times I remember going to visit my grandparents. My mom would go in and check to see how drunk Grandpa was. And if he was too drunk, then we would go get an ice cream and go to the park. If he was just tipsy, then we'd go and visit. You know, I remember that as a kid. And I always had this weird just fascination with him. And as I got older, I was doing a show we were in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, right? And there was a snowstorm coming through that was just hitting the whole area. We had a show down by Boise the next night. Well, in order to get down there, we had to leave. We had to get up like 4:30 in the morning from that gig. Me and the other guy, was Jerry Corley, comic from L.A. And we took his car and went to leave so early in the morning to get down there, and and I'm driving, and it was just whiteout conditions at times. I mean, it was just snow, ice everywhere, and a lot of times we're going down these roads. There's no plows.
Like misery.
Yet. Yeah, I mean, it's a nasty storm. So we're kind of on edge the whole way, all day long. We're in the storm. Well, we get to the gig just like 30 minutes before showtime. And so we're both just kind of, a little frazzled. And so we go check into the hotel, and we head back over to the room, and it's packed. I mean, there's a lot of people there, and I got to do a half hour. I was just the opener. I'm thinking I got to do a half hour, and I just was mentally just kind of exhausted, and I'm trying to get myself psyched up for the show. And that's when I thought, I'm just going to do this as my grandpa when he was drunk, because he would just. And so that's when I started doing that character. And it was funny because I only did about 15 minutes of material in 30 minutes because it was going so well. I mean, it was just funny. And afterwards I was like, okay, all right, so let's start doing a little more with this. And I would do it at times, and I had a lot of comics who would tell me, oh, don't do that. You're smarter than this. And, I don't care. I'm just being a knucklehead, right? So yeah. I'd get away from him, and then I would do it from time to time. And then finally, one day, it was many years, it was like, I think about 2015, I was on Instagram, and a friend of mine, who was also a comic, was doing these guru videos. He was trying to be an influencer, trying to be a life coach.
Seriously?
Seriously. And he's a good dude. I mean, he's got a podcast now, and he's had like several different versions, and he has a whole business where he helps business people develop their own podcast, and he's a successful guy, right? But he made this video where he's like leaning in the hallway in his house, and he's like, "Hey, do you feel like you need to be successful, or you need permission to be happy, or to be successful? Well, I'm here to give you permission to be successful and to be happy. You deserve to be happy, and you know what? You don't need my permission. The only permission you need is your permission," and something to that effect. And I remember just laughing, thinking, "This is," because part of me is like, hey, he's being really positive. He's delivering a good message, but nobody's listening to this guy. Because, and the thing is he lives in this big, beautiful home. He drives a Ferrari. His wife is successful. He's successful. He's got this great body. He's got a great tan. He travels all over the world. I mean, he's living a wonderful life. And he's making this video, and I'm going, no one's paying attention to this dude. And that's when it struck me. I was like, that's it. My drunk grandfather as the world's worst life coach. And that's where I started making the videos, where just kind of this out there, discombobulated life coach. And I thought, I'm just going to be complete opposite of what everybody else is doing. In fact, I went and I read how to be successful on YouTube. And I did everything opposite, did everything wrong on purpose.
Like what?
Like they tell you to be, to write your script and have it perfect. You want to have it, have it succinct, and just perfect, and your lighting perfect, your sound perfect. You want to look good, have this in the background, all these things. And I thought, I'm going to do all this wrong. So I was doing stuff. My hair's a mess. I'm messing up. I would have the camera off on a weird angle. The audio screwed up. It was funny. I was doing one video one time where, in the middle of it, I started coughing really hard. And I was thinking, okay, I'll have to redo this video. And then as I'm thinking that, I thought, my character doesn't care. He doesn't care. And so I finished coughing, and then without making no acknowledgement of the cough whatsoever, just picked up right where I was at and just keep going with the video. And it was one of those moments when I turned off the camera, it was everything in me to not laugh. You know what I mean? Until I turned off until they finally stopped the video. It was just like it started busting a gut. I was like, oh, that was funny. And so I thought I'll leave that in. And so from that point on, a lot of these videos, I shoot them in one take, and I'll listen to them, and it's not perfect. I kind of mess up the words and everything. And I thought, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And so all the videos I do are usually just the first take. That's it. Every once in a while, something will happen that I'm just like, I don't like that, and redo it. But typically, it's just one shot and just do it because I want it to just be raw. And that's why you listen. Sometimes there's cars going by, there's just all kinds of chaos happening. And then I started looking also for just weird places to do the videos. So like at first I was doing picturesque places, and then I started doing stuff in front of dumpsters. Because how you want to make a video and you want to have it pictured perfect and everything. And I was like, I want to find the worst place to do this video, and that's where I'm going to do it at.
It's funny that you say that, because look at how this podcast is shot. That's the same mentality I have. I almost was like, damn, your hand's covering your face, but I don't care. Like, that's why before I didn't care about the mic stands or where it was.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people put too much thought into the not what they're actually doing, but the oh, I need the best cameras. I need this to look the best. I need to make it and it's like,
well,
at least that's not what I want.
Yeah. I was telling, I spoke at my nephew's audio visual class. He was in junior high, and they were the teacher asked me, come in and just kind of talk about what it's like to be in the industry, I guess. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not that much in the industry, but okay, whatever. But I've done TV, I've done movies, I've done different stuff. And the thing I was telling them, I said, look, you kids need to understand that you have more available to you than at any point in time in history. I said, when I was your age, to be able to get a camera was a huge deal. To get any kind of a camera, to be able to shoot something with, was a huge deal. That was something that only rich people had, video cameras. And now you've got a phone that you can film everything on. You don't need a red one. You don't need all this big fancy stuff. You got everything you need right there in the palm of your hand. And that's all you need, because the most important thing is the actual story that you're telling. People will put up with bad video. They'll put up with bad audio. They'll put up with not having great acting. But if the story is interesting and compelling, they'll watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's your content. It's what it's the core. It's what is it exactly people are coming for. They'll put up with everything else to get that story. That's more important than anything else. All this other stuff is nice. It's an add-on. Sure, you want to be able to have beautiful cinematography and everything, but if it's not telling a story, if it's just there to be pretty, people don't care about it.
Yeah,
and that's more true now than ever. I mean, because we all see the pretty pictures and the great edits and everything, but if it's not compelling and interesting, no one's going to watch it.
We were being dumb before about the ghosts and shit, about scaring yourself. But I think that pertains into what we're talking about now, how people scare themselves into not doing something with what they have.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's always that.
It's what are people going to think? What if it doesn't look right? What if it doesn't sound right? People scare themselves like it was a fucking ghost on some real shit, being like, ooh, what's so spooky? You're going to get haunted by posting a video of yourself? No, that's not what happens.
Yeah.
It took me a week to post the first episode. To just click the button, And it's am I is a demon gonna, it's not the fucking book of evil, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was funny because, I remember one of my early classes for when I was getting into acting, when I was I think it was I think it was my high school. It was like a freshman in high school. And the drama coach, his name was Kim Brower. I remember this dude. He was just a really cool dude. And we were rehearsing our scenes and stuff. And really wasn't working. We were having some issues. And he goes, you know what? I want you to try something. I said, instead of trying to get all into the right emotions and everything, I want you to do the complete opposite of what you think your character needs to be doing. Complete opposite. I want you to do it all wrong. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we started doing. And we were trying to just make each other laugh the entire time in this really serious scene. And so as we're doing it, I remember everything we could to not laugh made it look like we were having this very intense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so by trying to do the opposite, we accomplished what we were trying to do. And it was an important lesson because it was like, oh, you know, too often we have this perfect idea of what we're trying to do. And it's like, no, make it messy. It doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, if it's perfect, it's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the true with stand-up. You know, if you're too polished, the audience is kind of like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It comes, but if they want to feel like you're right there with them, that you're in that moment, that it's new, it's real. And so if I screw up while I'm doing it, you know, that's one thing when you watch yourself doing stand-up, you go, oh, that was wrong. Oh, I can't believe I did this. But from the audience perspective, they don't know and they don't care.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that you missed one of your tags or that you did the setup a little bit wrong, they don't care. As long as it's funny, they could care less, right? And so that whole idea of just be willing to do it wrong and just do it. And don't worry about perfection, because perfection's a silly thing to pursue anyway. But just do it and just get it out there. And as you're doing it, you're going to get better. And whether you're doing stand-up or, you know, learning an instrument or a new job or podcasting, whatever it is, just start doing it and you'll get better.
How old were you when you first got on stage?
We used to, when me and my cousins and my brother and sisters, we used to put on shows for my grandparents and uncles and aunts all the time. So the first time I ever performed, I was 5, and I did a lip sync thing to Crocodile Rock, and we would do big numbers. I mean, I was decked out with funky sunglasses and a feather boa and all that crazy stuff, and my cousins brothers and sisters were behind me playing, you know, pretending to be doing instruments and dancing with me, and it was ridiculous. And I remember the first time I did it, I got up there and I started hammering it out, and just watching my grandma laugh, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I was always trying to get into productions all through school, and I wanted to do stand-up. I loved watching.
When did you take that seriously?
It took a long time. You know, I started doing improv and sketch because I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live when I was a kid. That was my big thing.
You could still get there.
I don't know. I'm so far out of that.
Sorry.
You know what we need? We need an old white guy. That's what we need on the show. I'm sure that's what they're looking for right now. And it was funny because I'd kind of felt like I'd been auditioning for things and just nothing was happening. And so I went to the Marine Corps. I got married while I was in the Marine Corps. My wife, I used to do all these silly things for her, just making her laugh all the time. And she just kept pushing me, you need to do stand-up.
So you've been married longer than you've done stand-up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the reason I got into stand-up was because she just kept pushing me. She was like, it was a weird moment because I was like, well, I feel like I got to work to pay the bills and take care of the family. She goes, like, I can make money. You need to do stand-up.
Really?
And She says, it's what you need to be doing. And
I was going to ask you earlier how you successfully be a stand-up and have a family, but that's the answer right there. That's the answer right there.
It was her idea. I mean,
but the support system, having someone
having someone that's on your side and says this. So because when you start, especially when you start, you got to just get on stage everywhere, and any chance somebody will give you 3 minutes, you're going to take it. When I first started doing, we lived outside of Kansas City, and I'd have to drive, a couple hours to go to Kansas City to do comedy, and my wife was 100% behind me going. I'd have to drive there, pay $10 cover, and have a 2-drink minimum to do 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
That's what you have to do.
Because that's what you do.
I lived on Cape Cod and would work an 8-hour day, drive 2 hours to do a 4-minute mic, drive back, work another day, drive 2 hours to go to Boston, drive back. That's how I started for years.
Yeah, that's how I was doing it. And I remember I did 2 open mics at the club, in the actual comedy club in Kansas City. And one of the other comics came up to me and he says, "Hey, look, I think you're pretty funny, and you've only been doing it for, 2 times?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Look, if you really want to get better, what you need to do is go and set up your own shows." I said, "Go out, find a bar nearby and tell them you'll bring a comedy show in, and no cover, and you'll bring comics, and they'll get people to come to the bar, and you tell them just give them free drinks and whatever." And so you'll start setting up shows. You MC, you get some of these guys who've been doing it for a while. They're starting to feature. They've got like 15, 20 minutes. You tell them they can come and do the show and headline, and tell them, you pay them $15 for gas, and they'll come. So I started doing that. I went to bars in the town that I was living in. It was Warrensburg. It was a college town, so there was a bunch of bars and stuff. And I went and got 3 of them set up, and we would do shows on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And so all these comics would come out from Kansas City, drive out 2 hours to Warrensburg to do these shows. And, sometimes I got money, sometimes I didn't. And if I got money, I shared it with everybody. And I remember there's many times that there's one in particular. I remember this guy, I handed him $15. He goes, "What's this for?" And I said, "Well, I got, they gave me some money, and so I was just dividing it up amongst everybody who came out." I said, "It's not a lot, but, it'll help with gas." He goes, "You understand this?" He says, "I've been doing comedy for 3 years. This is the first time I've ever been paid." And I was just like, "Well, I'm glad to get to be the first one to pay you."
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was like this moment of just, I finally getting paid to do comedy. It was.
I remember my first moment.
Yeah.
Looking back, can you put yourself in like the mindset of where you were at that point in life?
Oh yeah, very easily. Yeah.
How does the journey look? Like going back in time and looking to where you are now.
Beyond my wildest imagination, because I got into it when I was about 28, 29. So I was already kind of past the curve. I was already not what they were looking for.
Already too old for SNL.
Yeah, I was already too old, but I loved it. That first time you get on stage and you get a couple chuckles. Oh, I'll never forget that.
I used to fake ID to get into the Comedy Store. I flew to LA at 18 years old and used a fake ID and got up in the belly room and did 60 seconds, but I have it recorded and I did well.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great
I remember that moment though.
Yeah. It's like, I remember they called my name and your heart's just pounding.
You're like, "Can I turn around?" You're looking for a door.
Yeah, as I'm walking up there, your mind goes blank and you're going, "I forgot what I was going to say." And I got up there and I did an ad lib off of the 2 comics before me, because the one gal she was this white female who her whole set was about how she only dates black men because white guys suck. You know,
You're like, damn, she took my set.
Yeah, exactly. She was really funny. Then the next guy was a black guy who talked about what his life would be like if he had boobs. You know, comedy, you never know. And so I got up there and I just sort of stared at the audience for a second. I go, I'm sorry. I'm just, you know, being a white guy with boobs, I'm just not sure how to react to this. And it got a laugh. And so my first joke was an ad lib off of the other comics. And I got a laugh. And I was just like,
it's like a drug. It's like you've never done drugs or drank before, but it's kind of like that first time smoking weed.
It's just that moment of just pure clarity of like, this is it. This is what I was meant to do. This is what my life is from now on.
Do you think your life just kind of happened to work out that way, or do you look at it like this was planned for you?
I think it's just I think I want to believe in fate. I really do, but I know that it would never happen if it wasn't for the fact that I married the right person. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's fate that you guys met?
I do. Because I said she's been so supportive because, you know, when I started doing it and, you know, and I was getting invited to go and do shows. You know, I remember one time driving to Topeka and to do 5 minutes on this weird show that I think the only reason the guy, this was one of the weird things that was going on at the time, was these guys would book these shows. They would set up these shows and have you come out there and do your best material, of course, because you're like on a real show. And they would record it and say, oh, I'm going to give you a copy of it, you know. You never got a copy of it because what they would do is steal your material. And so...
so you go all the way out to Topeka to get 5 minutes stolen.
Get your 5 minutes of real good, of what you've been working on for months, and somebody would steal it.
Imagine being such a shitty comic that you have to do that to get material.
Oh yeah.
You know?
But it was a big deal. You know, they're at the end of the 90s. You know, this was before the internet was really a thing. You know, and so it was hard for people to be able to claim somebody stealing your material. But it was one of those things. And but no, you would. Like I said, drive to Topeka and do those, and just wherever and any time anybody was willing to let me get up on stage, I would do it. And then, you know, people were setting up just different open mics and bars, and remember, you know, I've done a lot of comedy sets in front of pool tables.
Oh yeah, the worst game to that, and when you see Jenga, you're like, why the loudest games during a comedy show?
Well, you know,
Bangs.
But you know, it's. It was in those really bad shows. And that's where you learned how to be a comic.
I had people throw drinks at me. Pinball machine, same thing. Yeah.
You know, you never know your place in comedy until when you're in the middle of a joke and somebody asks you to move out of the way so they can get to the bathroom.
What are your keys to why you think your relationship was successful?
With my wife?
Yes.
We've just always been really... just open and honest, and just really, I like to say she's the first person that I could ever just think out loud with, if that makes sense. You know, when I didn't have to, I'd been in relationships before where I had to kind of, you know, your pins and needles are like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, and you know, you're kind of editing what you're going to say. I've never had to do that with her. I mean, and I think part of it was because when I first met her was just before I was going into the Marine Corps to boot camp. So I had no intention of finding a female. I had just no thought of pursuing a relationship with anybody at that point. And so I meet her, and right off the bat, I wasn't trying to win her. I wasn't, because I was like, there's no way. Because first of all, she was just beautiful. You know, I mean, I was taken back when I first met her. How gorgeous she was. So I thought, well, first of all, I have no chance at this one. And two, I'm potentially going off to war. So I just had no illusions that this was ever going to be a relationship. And so right off the bat, we just started hanging out. And that's all we really were doing. Was we had a mutual friend that introduced us, and so we were just hanging out. And I was just really open and honest about everything I thought, believed, and because I wasn't trying to impress anybody. Because I thought there was no reason to try. And that just really connected with her. And then, I go off to boot camp, and then she writes to me every day while I'm in boot camp. I mean, you have no idea how incredible that is. And it wasn't just like, oh, I was thinking of you today or no. I mean, it was like, I would get 7-10 pages front and back that she would write these letters every day because she started writing her journal to me. So she would tell me about her whole day at work. And she was working 3 jobs at the time. So this was sort of the perfect relationship because she could have a relationship with somebody and not have to stop working to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just every night she would just sit down and write a letter and send it off to me every night. And so I'd get these. So all through boot camp, that's really kind of where I fell in love with her. She was just pouring out, her views of the world and herself and her family and how she sees the world. And it just connected with me. I was just like, I can't. By the time I got out of boot camp, I was like, I can't see my life without this person. I was just completely head over heels for her. And we've just been like that through our whole thing. It's just open and honest. We don't fight. We have disagreements, but we don't fight. There's always a nice give and take, but she's always been just my number one fan. She's taken it upon herself to give me the opportunity to just do whatever I want to do, to just get whatever I need. I mean, she doesn't, I tell her, hey, I need a new camera. She's like, oh, okay, whatever. She's never questioned it. The fact that I own a whole bunch of guitars that I don't know how to play.
You don't know at all how to play this guitar.
I've learned 3 chords and I keep forgetting them. I've learned G, C, and D, and I still can't remember. Anyway, but no, she's just always just been so supportive, and I cannot. I wouldn't be where I'm at now if it wasn't for her, because she put up, and I wouldn't say put up, but she was supportive in me going, driving. 2-3 hours to do 3 minutes at an open mic in Topeka and be gone all night. And she trusted me, and she would support me, and she would go to the shows. And even now, she runs the website, she does the merch, and she travels me with the show. So it's really, I don't see it as my career. I see it as our career because we're doing this together.
You guys are a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a tough thing, is a lot of people see relationships as like, you're not playing for the same team.
Yeah, like you're at odds with each other, and it's like, no, we're totally.
And I thank you for talking about that, because I wanted to ask about that in comedy, because I think a good, healthy family relationship and a comedy career don't usually go hand in hand.
Well, if they're part of it, if they see that comedy as a way for you to get away from them, or they get jealous of it. That's where I see it being a problem. Or, if you're because look, it'd be real easy for me to take advantage of being away from my wife. I've had it offered, and I have no interest in it, and I could see that becoming appealing. I've seen a lot of people destroy their marriages because they're on the road for 3 weeks and they're feeling lonely, and they think, oh, she'll never know. And it's like, yeah, she'll not know, but you'll know.
Yeah.
And it changes you, because I've seen it over and over again,
People don't realize what being honest with yourself means too.
Yeah, Yeah.
People think that they can just lie to themselves. And
or
it won't take a toll on their soul.
Yeah. And they convince themselves, well, I was doing it because, it makes me better. And it's like, well, whatever. I remember one time I was in the Marine Corps, and this guy, because, everybody knew me as the religious guy. And so for whatever reason, they would come and confess to me. They're like, I need to talk to somebody. Can I talk to you about this? I'm like, okay. Just know I'm just a dude. I can't absolve your sins or anything. Yeah. And this guy was telling me, he says, well,
you are ordained.
I am ordained.
I saw the certificate up there.
Is that funny? Well, people started asking me to marry them. And through my church, you have to go through, there's a whole rigmarole to get approved to do a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to mess with all that. So I just went and got ordained by the Church of the Latter-day Dude. Now I can perform marriages anywhere. But what was I saying?
You're talking about people coming to you in the Marine Corps.
Oh, yes. So this guy, we went to Thailand, and he came up to me, and we got back to the main base in Okinawa from Thailand. And he goes, I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am to God. And I'm like, oh, really? And he goes, yeah. He says, I've been married for about 3 years, and I was worried about coming to Okinawa and everything. And if I was going to remain faithful and everything. So we went to Thailand. I just want you to know that I had the chance to cheat on my wife, and I didn't do it. And I just feel really good about myself. He's like, oh, well, good for you. And he goes, yeah, I went to one of those massage places, and you get in there and you're naked, and our girl, she gets naked and she's rubbing all over you, and you got the oil, and she's just up and down and everything. And she got to this point where she was, straddling on top of me, and she's like, we do in. And he's like, no. So I just had her, rub me out. And I was just so...
I like that guy's...
Yeah, and so he's like, well, I'm just really glad that, I didn't
he's
cheat
like,
on my wife.
Thank God I was faithful.
Yeah.
He's getting jerked off.
And I'm sitting there... And I was like, okay, where's the faithful to your wife thing? He goes, well, I could have gone all the way with her, but I didn't do it. And I said, well, look, I commend you for that. Okay, I will. That's good. But let me put it this way: if it was another dude, and the girl doing what she did was your wife, how would you feel about that? Oh, I would kill her. And I said, okay, just think about that for a while. And he's like, whatever. So he leaves. He comes back. I see him the next day, and he goes, I see what you're saying. Now I feel terrible. And I said, well, you didn't go all the way. I
can't abstain you from this. God isn't listening to me.
But you need to understand what faithful means.
Yeah.
Faithful is faithful. That means you not even... And he goes, yeah, I feel terrible. And he goes, do I need to tell her? I said, well, look, understand if you tell her, right, it's going to change your relationship, and it might destroy it, and it will hurt her. So you always have to think, what am I going to tell her going to help her or hurt her? And if you think it's going to hurt her, why tell her? So you didn't go all the way, so that's good. But at the same time, you need to kind of put things into perspective. It's what you're doing.
Yeah.
It was kind of an interesting moment.
That is an interesting moment. So they really thought you were the guy to talk to. You were the therapist on that base.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun because that's because I was a little older than most of them at the time. So,
what's your relationship with God now?
Oh, very strong. I'm still very, very faithful.
I feel that too, but I get weird talking about it.
Well, the world wants you to not talk about it. They make it seem like you're, like you're a brainwashed dimwit if you believe in God. And to which I say, you're a brainwashed dimwit because you've fallen for the other side. You're the same thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I heard this once, and I don't know where, but I heard that the most religious person and the atheist should both think the same thing.
Exactly.
Right before they're going to die. Like, they shouldn't be apologizing.
Yes.
Like, if you don't believe in anything, you just should be good with it. And if you do believe in something, you should be happy with what the life that you lived.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, really, what it comes down to, whether there is a God or not a God, it takes the same amount of faith to believe either way.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what your faith is in.
Did you have a moment where you found it, or was it always just something in your life? It's
always been, I believe in the gifts of the Spirit. I believe one of those ones is that the one that I was given was just knowing that there is a God. I've never questioned it. What
are the gifts of the Spirit? I've never heard of that.
It's in the Bible, New Testament. You put me on the spot.
I'm sorry. You don't have to.
But no, there's the gifts of the Spirit where is where it talks about like the gift of tongues, the gift of healing, gift of knowing the truth. It's just there are gifts of the Spirit that some people are that everybody is given some sort of a gift of your spirit, and whether you accept it or not, is part of your free agency. But I've just always really felt a very strong connection to God, and just never had a reason to question it.
I had a weird relationship with a Christian God growing up because my dad would start taking my family to church.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out, he was just doing that because he was cheating. And he thought that would be like the guy in Okinawa. He's like, we're going to church. It's okay.
Yeah. But it was funny. Like,
that's why I was listening to that story. So,
but it was funny. One of the things I remember my grandpa used to tell me was he said, the church teaches you what to do is right. But just always remember, the people are still idiots. And that's always struck with me. It's like, I don't go to church for these people. I'm going there to have that connection with God. But yeah, I've seen people that
I found my spirituality, religiousness, faith through hallucinogens, actually. Really? Which is, I know you've never done, and I know it's also a reason I don't really like talking about it. Because
well, no, I mean, you can't discount anybody's experience, whether it's, because of mushrooms.
No, when you find the voice, you find the voice.
Yeah, when you find that connection and you have that, because I've seen a lot of people who have used, DMT or hallucinogens or ayahuasca or whatever, and have had some very deeply profound experiences. And if that brings them to God, if that brings them to that knowledge and that understanding, I got no problem with it.
We were talking about the moment taking yourself seriously, and I was in a dark place not taking myself seriously. And it's funny you mentioned DMT because the DMT trip showed me that I had to take myself seriously and showed me that there is a path of positivity that I could follow, and in that I found my faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it had anything to do with that or just sometimes you get an awakening in your darkest moment and you don't really know where that comes from. Because in the moment, I really thought it was that, the DMT trip that I went through. But looking back at it, it was a lot of tumultuous time in my life that a lot of things added up to where I found what I needed to be found. And I started the podcast, which I'm not going to be like, DMT made me start the podcast and I found God, yeah. But it made me take myself seriously in something that did allow me to open up to a wider audience and allow me to feel seen, because I don't think I felt seen for most of my life.
Yeah, feeling like you need to be validated.
Yeah.
And the first validation you need to receive is from yourself. And it sounds like your DMT experience gave you that validation when you had that. It's like you finally told yourself you're worthy to take this serious.
It's like what that stupid video that guy posted on Instagram. The like you don't need me to you know?
Exactly right.
But it's at the end of the day, it's true. It's like if you read a bumper sticker, you're like, that's the stupidest shit ever. But then you read it in a book and you're like, oh my God.
Blew my mind.
But that's how it is. And that's why I asked you if you were fulfilled before, but you found your fulfillment in something else.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that is probably why it led you to success.
I certainly think it has a big part of it. And you know, a lot of it, you know, with comedy, I was just thinking about this morning, this idea that I've always kept, was that to be great at something, you have to be the best at what everybody else is doing. But to become a legend, to go beyond that, you have to be willing to do what nobody else is doing. And for comedy, you know, because I like to go into topics that nobody else is talking about. So that's why I do jokes about anxiety and depression and, you know, death and all these things, and I address these things in my videos and stuff.
George Floyd.
George Floyd, yeah, being able to talk about really deep subjects, but doing it in a silly, ridiculous way.
And not making a joke of the subject itself.
It's like, because that's always the thing. I remember I did a thing, I struggled with this one. Somebody wanted me to do something about PTSD. And that was my concern. It's like, okay, I don't want to mock people with PTSD. That's not what I'm doing. And I'm not trying to discount their experience, because I know it's something that's very real. I mean, I was in the Marine Corps. I've hung out with a lot of people with PTSD. I understand it. And I wanted to make the video where I explain what PTSD is in a funny way so that people can understand and relate to it. And also, you know, anxiety and depression, getting to people understand, you know, when somebody says I'm depressed, the last thing they need to hear is, well, just cheer up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just think positive. You know, because they want to. That's kind of the point. Is you can't. You're you know. It's like you're stuck in the mud. You're in the run. The harder you push on the gas, you just get deeper in.
Yeah.
You know, and so talking about those kinds of subjects, it was funny because I did the PTSD video and I was nervous about doing it, but I thought, I think I covered it. I didn't, you know what I mean? So I shared it with people, and the person that asked me to do it, they were like, this is perfect. Thank you. And I've had people that reached out to me and said, this was really great. I had one, it was this wife whose husband had PTSD, and she really didn't understand it. You know, she would kind of fall into that trap of, I think he's just doing it for attention. But she said, in fact, her husband wrote to me and said after she saw the video, she started to cry because she started to understand what he was going through. And then, so I was getting these kind of messages. And then I get this other guy who says, I'm disappointed in you. How dare you to mock and ridicule PTSD? And I'm like, you know, my first thought is, did you watch the video?
Yeah.
It's like people get upset not at what you say, but the fact that you say anything at all. You know, I do, and that's just part of comedy, because I do jokes about my daughter. She's gay. You know, she's a lesbian. She came out to me, and it was silly that she came out because we knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did this whole thing about her coming out, and then also at the same time that they started their thing, the girlfriend decided that she was really a boy, so she became transgendered man, and so I just did jokes about the whole thing. And I don't mock them at all. I mean, I just make fun of the situation.
Yeah.
Right. And my reaction, it's mostly about my coming to terms with everything. And I've had people listen to it and go, that was I've had people go, there's nothing to be offended by, you know. But I would still get people, because I posted it on the internet, and I started getting people say, oh, that didn't age well. And I'm going, what are you talking about? well, you just can't be talking about it. And they're not upset about what I said. They're the fact that I talked about it at all.
Yeah.
Is what they're
Because they're scared.
Yeah, they're scared. And
it's a projection.
And one thing I find is don't apologize for anything. If you do something and you do it with pure intent, just do it. If somebody gets it, people just want to be offended.
Yeah. And they want a reaction out of you.
Yeah.
I know I have to not answer shit because I know people just want to get me mad.
I said that the best thing to do is either ignore them or give a positive acknowledgement. It's like I had this guy one time. He wrote me this scathing thing. You're just a 2-bit hack, and you're just this one-trick pony, and you're going nowhere. Enjoy your 15 minutes of fame, and then F you. I was like, where is this coming from? So instead of getting upset, I just go, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'll take it under advisement. And he writes back to me, goes, hey, man, I'm really sorry. I was kind of in a dark place, and I was just lashing out, and I actually think you're pretty funny. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Hey, that's how it works, though.
Yeah.
They just want you to reply.
Yeah, you just acknowledge them, and it's like, look, I'm sorry you feel that way. I had a guy today. I get this every once in a while. He's like, I just feel like you're repeating a lot of the videos. Because, like, I get new followers all the time, right? And so I'll have a video that I did 2 years ago, and I'll just go ahead and just
post it, yeah.
Repost it, just, And then I have people reposting my videos all the time from all, I've got hundreds of them out there. So they're popping up all the place. And this guy's, well, I just feel like you're reposting a lot of the same stuff. And so I'm going to have to take a break from you. And I'm sitting there thinking, why?
Thanks for telling me.
Why take the time to tell me this?
You're so worried about wasting time watching these videos.
Yeah.
You're just wasting your time writing me this email.
Yeah, I was just like, and so I just said, okay, no worries. I mean, I don't know what.
Yeah, what
I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna have to snooze you for 30 days because I don't want to watch you.
Thanks for telling me.
There was absolutely no reason at all for you to tell me, but he felt like he had to.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And if anything, he's basically saying, hey, hey there, we're friends. And by the way, I don't like the way that you don't cover your mouth when you cough. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, totally.
It's like, oh, he hates me now. And I just, you learn just not to take anything personally. Even when they're trying to make it personal, the trick is just don't ever take anything personal. Because most of the time when people lash out to you, it's not really about you. It's about them anyway. So
yeah, they're projecting.
Yeah. So why get upset? And so when you either absorb the hit or just deflect it or whatever, it's usually the best way to deal with it.
Thank you for doing this. We did like an hour, 40 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, we've been recording?
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
We started?
I need you to sign a waiver. But for real, thank you for the hospitality and for this conversation because you are someone I look up to, and it was an honor to have you on this show.
I gotta tell you this. You have a joke. Do you remember this?
Oh, wait.
About dodgeball.
I do remember this.
I had made a post years ago about this, the idea of dodgeball and everything, and it had come up on my.
Should we say the bit or no?
Yeah, well, it'll come.
Okay.
So I was going through my memories and I saw this thing that I had posted. And I thought, oh, that's funny. I got to repost that. And I posted, this is something that I'm running up against. It's stuff that I wrote back in 2012 or before when I had, my post would get 7 likes, maybe. You know what I mean? If acknowledged at all. And then all of a sudden, now I have, hundreds of people who like the stuff. And so, and stuff I wrote back then was just as funny then. And so, like, I'll repost it. Just to show, look, I've been funny for a long time. Right.
You guys caught up. I didn't catch up.
You just caught up. I'm just informing you of how magnificent I've been this entire time. So I reposted that joke, and I didn't realize that you had a whole bit about basically about the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'd posted it, and then all these people were like, "Hey, you stole Sam's joke," and I'm going, "No."
He stole my joke. I wrote this on Facebook.
But it was like, it was one of those moments where it's like, no, there's no way he would steal my joke, and I didn't steal his, which is just a great
parallel thinking.
Parallel thinking.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not that big of a stretch. And so I was like, I didn't want to get into a pissing match about it. I was like, there's no reason to. I know I didn't steal from him. I know he didn't steal it from me.
On record, I did not steal that.
It was an obscure post I made years ago. Literally, no, I think before we even knew each other.
Oh yeah.
So there was there's no freaking.
That's one of the first jokes I ever wrote, actually.
And it's a great joke. It's a great
dumb.
bit.
I don't.
Well, somebody sent me the video, and I watched it. I'm going, that's exactly. That's brilliant. I loved the bit. I was like, he nailed it, right? And so instead of getting upset or anything, I reposted it and just said, "This is a great joke. This is, I basically saying, look, no harm, no foul. I wasn't trying to steal his joke. He didn't steal it from me. Parallel thinking, but it's a great bit here."
Trust me, I did not think you stole it from me.
I know, but but I had other people that were
No, I understand.
in your behalf, which is great. It means you got some great friends, but I was just like, holy cow. And so instead, like I said, it started trying to get, I first posted this, and started. I was just like, look, he's got this great bit about it. Here, watch it. And it was really cool because I had a lot of people who started following you who saw the bit. And I was like, this is cool. This is what social media should be, especially comics. Yeah. We should be supporting each other and helping each other out. It's not a competition.
No, there's not 8 slices of a pie and we all need, it's like the more we win, the more, content is king. The more we help each other out and create more content, the more there is out there for people to see of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's why I really do appreciate this. And I'm glad we got to talk about that too, because I forgot about that. That bit got me in trouble one too many times.
Oh, did it? It's a great bit.
It is a great bit.
It's basically as soon as you have the decline in dodgeball, then school shootings went up.
Yeah, which it was crazy because when I saw that, I was like, "Oh shit!" Parallel thinking really is a thing. Mm-hmm. That's why I love. You were talking about being great versus being a legend. Mm-hmm. When you're a legend. Someone said this to me once. A comedian was like, I haven't said anything of enough importance yet. I've made people laugh, but I don't think I've said anything, important. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've said anything important yet, but that's what I love about the grind of comedy, is because I just want to chip away and work until I am proud of what I'm going to say.
Yeah, because a lot of that is just finding your own voice and finding your own confidence in what you're doing and who you are, and
because I'm 25. When I did stand-up for the first time, I was 18, 17. Yeah. 8 years. And I just started headlining within this year. So I'm still a newbie. I'm still a novice, but I've worked hard and I've put my hours in. So I love the grind and the...
Oh, you've just got to love every bit of it. You got to love the fact that, you've driven.
You got to like driving. You got to like driving.
You got to like the idea that you just drove 2.5 hours to go to a bar in Vermont on a Tuesday night. And then when you get there, you find out you're performing for 3 people. And the bar wants to leave the TVs on because they don't want to have their regular customers leave. Yeah. And you get up there and you do it.
The worst is I don't know anything about sports. When you get to a game, when you get to a show and you realize it's like a playoff game or something. Oh, yeah. I've had that so many times. And I'm like, no one's coming. And if they are coming, they're here to watch that fucking playoff game. I don't.
Yep.
But anyway, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh,
It
thank
was
you for
really
having
an
me.
honor.
This was a privilege.
That was a bad handshake, but peace out, everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey,